Angry Orchard Crisp, they're over 6. Drinking Angry Orchard Crisp is like biting into a fresh apple. To get that fresh apple taste, we only use the highest quality bittersweet apples.
Alright guys, so I did go see Greta, and before we get to my opinion about the movie itself, let's talk about a little bit about the story. So basically in Greta, we have this young girl who basically just moved into the city with her best friend, and one day she gets in the subway, and while she's riding the subway, she finds this purse with somebody's belongings in them. So then she decides to take it back to its rightful owner, who appears to be this older lady who soon becomes too close with this girl and actually starts stalking her around. Now, I was actually both surprised but annoyed with Greta. And of course, I'll get to those reasons throughout the review. Now, I will admit, I was actually genuinely terrified and creeped out by Greta. This movie is just actually genuinely just creepy from bits to bits, and it's actually really effective throughout the film. The movie itself is actually really well directed. The director obviously had this vision for this story, and it actually seems like he knew where he wanted to take this story, and it really did work a lot of times. But there's also a handful of things that didn't really remotely make any logical sense in this movie, or that was just flat out stupid. Now, of course, before I start talking about how the story went and all that, the performances, Chloe Grace Moretz, she was actually really good in here. It's great to see her in a role where you actually get you actually get to know her character a bit for like the first half of the movie, and then you get to care for her character as well. And that's what I like about a really good movie, that, you get to know the character, and, whenever anything goes down in the final act, you actually care for the character. And that's something that a good movie should do. And this movie really did do that. But the real show stealer here is Isabelle Huppert. I hope I said her last name right, but she plays, she plays Greta. And like I mentioned, she is genuinely just creepy in this movie. I was actually terrified for any character that got around Greta in this movie. That's how terrified I was of her character. We also do have Micah Monroe, who was actually in this movie as well, which she was another standout, and I actually had no idea she was in this movie till I, watched it. But she was terrific in this role. But of course, Isabelle Huppert, she just steals everything. One of the best performances of the year already. And the movie has a really good build-up. Like, again, I get to know these characters, and I really get to care for them throughout the movie. Now, after the third act, the movie carefully, after the third act, I think I meant to put after the second act in my, script right here, but, after the second act, the movie carefully handles the thriller element, and it handles it pretty well. Like, it does have, it's not your usual thriller with your predictable twists and outcomes. Like, it actually has some clever tricks up its sleeves with its twist. This movie is actually quite twisty at times. And that's what makes this movie actually really fun to watch. Now, I don't know if this is anything that you could really consider a horror movie, but I guess it does have a bit of horror sprinkled around the story somehow. But usually when it comes to my reviews for horror movies, I'm always bitching about how characters never, make the boldest or smartest decisions. But here the characters are actually smarter about what they do, which is, it's always a nice touch. I'm always open to seeing smarter characters in horror movies. Again, I don't know if you could say Greta's a horror movie, but it's nice to see characters actually doing smart decisions for once. But I can't stand to feel that the movie itself, though, does get really silly at times. And by silly, I mean stupid silly. The movie has some questionable directions at times. Like, there's this one scene when Greta went too far, and she follows this girl to her workplace. And, this girl, she's just, creeped out by Greta up to this point. So they call the cops, and the police officer tells her that they can't do nothing about it because she's not doing anything wrong. All she's doing is looking looking at her through a window, and just following her around. Like, basically any other character that isn't the main character in this movie, they're just completely pointless douchebags that, you know, they're just like, I didn't care for any other character aside from the main characters in this movie. The other characters just don't feel like they're there anyways. This is something that just really bothered me throughout the movie. It's just stupid, silly things like this that really just killed the movie more for me. Like, again, are you fucking serious? This logically just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even make sense in movie logic. Like, the writers, it felt like the writers were actually desperate to find a way to keep the story going, up to a point where you're basically making any other character in this movie just, again, sound like a complete idiot. Now, the third act was quite weak. While the movie does have some type of good payoff, there's just so much in the third act that really felt goofy, and, you know, things never really made sense at points in this movie. And it really took away from what was making this a really, really good movie. So other than that, it was just mainly the third act and some of the silly things that were sprinkled around the movie that really kind of killed this movie for me a little bit. But other than that, Greta is still a fine movie. It's a movie that I would recommend renting when it's out on Redbox or, you know, Netflix. You know, I don't know. But with that being said, I'm gonna give Greta a B-. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and also stay tuned for my upcoming review. Of course, this gives you a hint. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.